Greetings from Casa de Single Wide News. Leroy here again to bring you the latest and the greatest. Now, I need to do an update on what's going on in Washington, D.C. The Director of Homeland Security, Chief or Secretary or whatever, I believe Chad Wolf, has resigned. There was some kind of court case in California. They were challenging some. Anyway, great timing. Nothing going on in the world right now where we might, need somebody in charge there. But anyway, that's not the main part of this video. There seems to be a bit of confusion, and has been for some time, about what a fascist is. We've got the anti-iffy, these people say, oh, we're anti-fascist. And if you're not anti-fascist, then you're fascist. No, there's lots of other things you can be. For example, communists, that's what they are. They're straight up communists. So people don't seem to understand the difference between communism and fascism and what free market ought to be. So I'm going to try to clear that up, since they've been calling our president, a fascist all this time, and Nazi and racist, and all of them. His supporters, if you support him, then you're one too. So let's get straight what these things are, and I'm going to go by what I know, what I was taught. My father was, for many, many years, a history teacher, a historian. He didn't write history books. Maybe he had a little footnote somewhere in the back somewhere. But he would do research back before internet. Not every library had every book, so the person who was writing the history books would call around to different historians around the country, the world, whatever, and these people would find the books needed and the references needed to go back as close as you could to the source of when the event happened, and get as accurate details as you could do. So by the time I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I was the guy, the kid in the library running around getting the books for my dad. I knew the Dewey Decimal System up one side and down the other. I could go straight to the aisle, straight to the shelf, knew how many books over it was, snatch it up, take it back to him. By the time I was in the 7th grade, I was helping him look things up so that he could scan them and mail them off to the person who was writing the book. So, and he did this for, a decade and a half. So, anyway, I'm going to go by what I was taught. And there was one particular instance in my life where a big impression on communism and what he thought of it was brought into play. I had a teacher, I think it was the 7th grade, that just loved Mao Zedong, thought he was the greatest. Oh, he was just wonderful. And considering basically the warlord Chiang Kai-shek, who was defeated by Mao Zedong, maybe it was a step up. I don't know. I don't think so. Not after nobody really knows how many. I've heard anywhere from 70 to 100 million people that he killed during the great leap forward to try to industrialize China. But anyway, this teacher just loved Mao Zedong, and my father, of course, being a school teacher, my mother also, inquired about what I was learning, and I told him I was learning how great Mao Zedong was. Well, needless to say, um, he made a special effort to be at my school the next day. I don't know if he had a gap in classes or whatever. He didn't teach at my school, but he was there. And he confronted my teacher, and he gave her down the road in front of the whole class about teaching how great communism was. Then the whole class, including me, saw that. Then he went to the principal's office, and I don't know what he said, except that I wasn't going to be back in that class as long as there was a communist teaching it. And the next day, there was a substitute teacher, and within a few days, we had another teacher to finish out the year. So, communism was not a very popular thing back then, and these Antifa and BLM also, these are Marxist. This is what they want. Now, China was started out as Marxist communist, and that's where the government controls all of industry. They control everything. All of industry, it doesn't matter whether it's food, it doesn't matter if it's cars, it doesn't matter. Whatever it is, they have 100% control. They own the businesses, the farms, the equipment, the people, the houses, the land, everything. Now, what they sell for communism is this. It's everyone according to their ability and to everyone according to their needs. The problem arises very quickly in a system like this, where the guy that's going in there and busting his butt and working really hard all the time ends up looking around and seeing that, hey, everybody else is pretty slack, and they're getting paid the same amount that I'm getting paid, so I'm going to be pretty slack too. And then when you get enough people being pretty slack, then there's not enough goods and services to go around, and then they start cracking the whip or cracking some heads or whatever it takes to get the production up so that everybody can be at a nice, equitable level of crap poverty. Yeah, that's where it ends up. If you're not in government, if you're not the one cracking the whip or cracking the heads, then you're the one getting whipped and getting your head busted. That's just the way that works. So then there's the fascists. Now, the fascists believe in private ownership of the businesses, which is a little better because you actually have somebody that knows how to run the businesses in charge of the businesses. However, they do what the government tells them to do, and they work hand in glove to control the people, control the production of everything, so on and so forth, and etc. Now, Mussolini, Hitler, these are fascists. Hitler was Nazi. He added a level of racism to it, but that's the essential difference. Now, what China started out as was straight up Marxism. They have digressed or progressed, whatever you think. They're fascists. They're straight up fascists. They've got private ownership, so to speak, but the government's got their hands in everything. If it's a Chinese company, doesn't matter whose name of ownership is on it, the ones in charge is the government. Then you've got the free market system, that we're supposed to have here, where the individuals feel the needs. They look around, hey, people need this or that. I'll make a company making what the people need. And the least government intervention, the better, except to break up monopolies. That was essentially what the federal government was supposed to be doing. They've never done a particularly good job of it, but they broke up the railroads, the oil companies, the phone companies, the cable companies, so on and so forth. To whatever degree that worked is debatable, but that's essentially how the free market works. And the less government puts their input in, the less restrictions, the lesser taxes, so on and so forth, the more those businesses boom. They create the wealth. I never walked into a business that stole anything from me. Well, I'm a wage slave. No, you're getting a wage, stupid. I walked in broke, I got a job, I started walking out with money. That's what I'm there for. I don't care how rich anybody gets. People say, well, ain't nobody should ever be a billionaire. Most billionaires probably ain't seen more than a few $100,000 that they had for their hands, liquid assets that they could spend on themselves in their lives. They've got companies, they've got trucks, they've got equipment inside of it. All of these are their assets. All of that stuff, these multi-million-dollar equipment that they've got, these trucks that haul their goods and services back and forth, whatever. I've got no problem if a person makes $1 million, if they make $1 billion, if they make $100 billion. Where I have the problem is when they start screwing my free speech, or the president's free speech, or your free speech, and I don't care what your ideals are. If you're an atheist, if you're a communist, if you're a fascist, you can talk about it. And if I've got a problem with it, well, then we can discuss it. When you remove discussion, that's where you end up with violence. Because if I can no longer talk, if I can no longer speak, if you can no longer speak, then what's the solution? If I get pushed into a corner where I can't stand the oppression anymore, then and discussion's removed, then violence is what's left. And I certainly don't want violence, and I think most people don't. So what we have going on now is people saying, well, I'm an anti-fascist, and we've got a Democratic Party, call themselves liberals, but look up the definition of liberal. That's not really what they are. So we've got these liberal leftards, whatever you want to call them, working with these huge corporations, working hand in glove with them, these big tech corporations, Amazon, Google, Facebook, Twitter, so on and so forth, to shut down people's free speech. That is fascism. That's what they do. One of the first things they do is they kill free speech, they kill religion, because you have to worship. It's like a beehive. You're working for the queen, you're working for the collective, you're working for... That's what that's all about. Be it fascist, be it communism. The government is your God. And you'll put them above everything else or you'll die trying not to. Now, President Trump was getting his hands out of the corporations. giving them tax breaks. They created wealth. We had the lowest unemployment, the highest worker participation rate, lower taxes, and the tax revenue went up 5% from cutting the taxes. Well, he's cutting taxes for the beginner. Good. What was the government going to do? They just going to piss it away on something stupid anyway. Rename a post office or a library or give it to some other country. Why not keep it here? Let them build businesses. Let you build a business. If I want a business, I'll build me a business. But they're calling him the fascist. That's what they do. They always accuse their opponent of what they're guilty of. It's the communist, fascist way. So, when you hear somebody calling our current president a fascist, correct them. When all this insurrection was going on in the States, people rising up, burning down all of these liberal cities. Oh, by the way, the socialists are the first to get killed. Fascism and communism, socialism is what they're selling. So you got some very disgruntled individuals when it doesn't turn out that way. So the people like the brown shirts, the black shirts in Nazi Germany and in Mussolini's Italy and Antifa, BLM, so and so, those are the ones who terrorize and eventually kill off the ones that are the socialists. They're the first to go. Next is like the Night of the Long Knives in Germany, where they kill off all of the leaders of the little individual groups who was doing their dirty work for them, which in this case would be Antifa and Black Lives Matter. They'll be the next to die. Then anybody that was loyal to the previous government, they'll be killed, and then you don't have anybody left that isn't begging for their life, and that's who they want left. Well, we'll worship the government, we'll live on our knees. Well, that's who we want. Thank you very much. That's how it works. So, I hope that's helped straighten some stuff out for you so that you can look at these countries yourself, what's going on right now, and you can tell. You can look in this country, you can see the fascist elements in it. You can see the ones who are pushing for communism, Bernie Bros. Yeah, his honeymoon was in Moscow during the USSR. Had him a fine old time. Yeah, ask the people in Venezuela. Ask the people who have escaped communism and who have escaped fascism, who have come here, if they want it here. I bet you won't find one that does. No. Scares them to death. They're hearing the rhetoric and they're saying, oh my gosh, there's no place left to run, people. We're it. The United States is it. So when I see an election that was as crooked as this one was, in my opinion, once they steal your vote, it's done. It doesn't matter. Oh, well, maybe Trump will run in 2024. What good's that going to do if they don't fix the problem now with the voting? Oh, sure, you can go color in some circles or whatever you're going to do, or punch some buttons on a machine, but they're going to pick who they want. We outvoted their crooked system in 2016. They didn't have a backup plan. 2020 pulled out all the stops. Went from election day to election month. And constitutionally, we still don't have a president-elect because they didn't follow the rules. So, when I hold out hope, and I don't want to sell you hope-tium, but when I hold out hope that our president has not run out of moves, it's because the end of this country, the end of the United States, the end of freedom of speech, the end of everything good about the United States, despite all the crap they'll tell you about how horrible it is, all of the good is going to be gone. And they'll be the first to die because they'll be the most teed off. When it doesn't turn out to be that lovely, sweet sandwich that they was supposed to be getting. And they find out they're trying to pick up a turd by the clean end. So, keep the faith, stand your ground, God bless all of you, and when you hear somebody saying how wonderful communism is, and how horrible fascism is, and calling you and or our current president a fascist, set them straight, because they're stupid. They're just plain stupid. Now, whether they're willingly ignorant or just dumb, that's something for you to decide. But set them straight, because these people they're nuts. They're just plain nuts. Anyway, God bless you. Keep the faith. Stand your ground. Speak up. Don't carve that line in the sand. You carve that line in stone. And you don't let anybody step on your toes when it comes to your God-given, constitutionally protected rights. Now, y'all have a wonderful day. Love you, everyone. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll talk to you soon. Y'all have yourself a wonderful, wonderful day.